இன்றகம் என்னும் நின்னைவெண்ணில் ஒன்றும் கின்றது வரைப்பிற நினைவெழி lārkkeṟ கொன்றக mudithala எதுவென vuḻḷāṛn duڵattavi kuṟiṉoru kuḍainiḻaṛ kōvē இன்றகம் புறம் இரு viṉaiyiṛal jaṉmam miṉbutuṉ biruḻoḻi yeṉuṅkaṉa vidaya maṉḍṛaha macalamā naḍamiṭu மருண மல்லையேனும் மெல்லையாரும் அருளொளி கடலே.
Today I'm going to be talking about verse 7 of Śrī Aruṇācala Aṣṭakam. There's a continuity from one verse to another, so I'll first, to show the continuity between verse 6 and 7, I'll first just quickly go through the meaning of verse 6. In verse 6, Bhagavan describes how the world's appearance is created. He refers to it as jaga vichitram, the picture of the world. And he talks about the world outside and the world inside. That is the seemingly physical world, but the world that seems to be existing outside ourselves, and also the world of our own thoughts and feelings and desires and everything within. Actually, they're all one world, but when Bhagavan is talking about the world, he's not just talking about the physical phenomena, but also the seemingly the phenomena that seem to be in our own mind. What he says in that verse, in the first sentence, he says, there is only one substance, you, the heart, the light of awareness. You here refers to Arunachala, which is our real nature, as he indicates by saying the heart. And he calls it the viṇaiyiṛal, the light of awareness, and it's oru, the one. Poral means like vastu in Sanskrit. It means substance, the one real, the thing of which everything is made, we can say, the substance of all things. So there is only one substance, that is you, the heart, the light of awareness. In you exists an extraordinary power which is not other than you. What he refers to as here as an extraordinary power, the word he uses is adiseya shakti. That is the same word he uses in in the fourth paragraph of Nana, where he says the mind is an adiseya shakti in atmasvarupa, and it causes all thoughts to appear. So what he refers to here is the adiseya shakti that exists in you and is not other than you, is the mind. And then in the next sentence he says, appearing from that adiseya shakti, the mind, the wonderful power, the extraordinary power called mind, along with awareness, series of shadowy thoughts spinning in the whirl of destiny are seen on the mirror that is the mind light as a shadowy world picture, both inside and outside, via the senses such as the eyes, like a shadow picture that stands out or is projected by a lens. Here he's using the cinema analogy, which he often used to show to illustrate how the mind projects the world. And what is it that the mind projects as the world? Series of shadowy thoughts. So what we see externally as the world, or internally, even the seemingly external world, the world that seems to us to be physical, is actually just our own thoughts. Just like when we are dreaming, we see a seemingly physical world, but when we wake up, we realize that seemingly physical world was our own mental projection. What we were seeing in that dream was only our own mental images, our own thoughts, where we saw as a world. So Bhagavan is saying that the world is nothing but a series of shadowy thoughts. And then he concludes that sixth verse by saying, Hill of grace, let them cease or let them go on, they do not exist apart from you. That is, whether the thoughts appear or whether they disappear, they're nothing apart from you. the implication of that is we shouldn't be concerned about thoughts. We should only be concerned about you. That's about Arunachala, the light of awareness that's always shining in our heart. Because thoughts are not other than that. Thoughts are unreal. What is real is only Arunachala shining in our heart as a light of pure awareness. So, as I said, in this verse, he's saying that the world is nothing but thoughts. So, in verse 7, he says more. He talks more about thought. In the first sentence, he says, iṉṭṛaham enum niṇaivu enil. That if the thought called I does not exist, pira ondrum iṉṭṛu. Even one other will not exist. Even one other can mean even one other thought or one other thing. Whichever way we interpret it, it makes no difference, because according to Bhagavan, everything other than ourselves, everything other than pure awareness is just a thought. So even one other thought or one other thing, in other words, no phenomena will exist without the thought called I. What he refers to here as the thought called I is ego, the false awareness, I am this body. That is, when he says the ego is the false awareness, ego is that which is aware of itself as I am this body. And if that doesn't exist, if that false awareness, I am this body, does not exist, we're not aware of anything else. Nothing else exists. So all phenomena which are objects perceived by us, depend for their seeming existence upon ourself, the subject, the perceiver of them. Ourself here means the ego, the thought called I. So, as I said, just to go over it again, in the first sentence he says, if a thought called I does not exist, even one other thought will not exist. And then in the second sentence he says, aduvare, until then. That means until the thought called I ceases to exist along with everything else. Everything else ceases to exist along with the thought called I. Until then, I'll read in Tamil, aduvare, pira niṇaivu eril. That's until then, if any other thought rises, aku eku ondru aham mudithala edu ena. To put that in the normal prose order, it would be aku eku aham mudithala ena ondru ena ondru. Ondru means merge. So, and until then, if any other thought rises, merge, that implies merge back within by investigating thus. To whom has it appeared? He just says it, he says it very briefly in Tamil. Aku means to whom. That implies to whom has it appeared. Eku, to me. Aham mudithala edu. What is the place from which I rose? That is, we have risen as ego. Only when we rise as ego, we're aware of other things. So what is the place from which we rise? The place here obviously doesn't mean a place in time and space. It doesn't mean a physical place. He uses the word place. Here he uses the word talam. He usually uses the Tamil word idam, both of which mean place. Talam is a Tamil form of the Sanskrit word sthala, place. But he's using this term place metaphorically to mean what is the source from which I arose. So what he's saying here, it's the same that he says in the 6th paragraph of Nana. If any other thought arises, we should investigate to whom has it arisen. Obviously it's risen to me, so who am I? Or what is the place from which I rose? And thus we should merge. Ondru means to become one with. So we merge. Where do we merge? We merge back in the source, the place from which we rose. What is the place from which we rose? It is our own real nature, which is the light of awareness, the pure awareness shining in our heart as I. Then in the next sentence he says, vuḻļāṛndu, sinking within, that implies sinking thereby within, vuḻļāṛndu, duڵattavi urin, if one reaches the heart throne. Oru kuḍainiḻaṛ kōvē, that means the very emperor, oru kuḍainiļaṛ means the shade of a single umbrella, kōvē means emperor. So what it implies is one will be the very emperor seated under the shade of a single umbrella. The expression an emperor seated under the shade of a single umbrella, that is an emperor who ruled over a vast empire, who had many, under whom there were many other kings, would be called the emperor under the shade of a single umbrella. Single umbrella shows he's the Chakravarti, the supreme emperor of all, the king of all kings. So obviously Bhagavan is using this metaphorically to refer to God, who's the supreme lord of this and every other world. So in other words, if we merge within by investigating who am I, and thereby reach the heart throne means the very core of our being, we will be the supreme lord. In other words, we will be God. We will become one with our real nature, which is God, which is what is metaphorically called God. Then in the next sentence he says, iṉṭṛu aham purum iru viṇai jaṉmam miṉbutuṇ viruḻloļi yeṉuṅkaṇa. That means the dream, implying the dream of duality, which consists of pairs of opposites such as aham purum, inside and outside, iru viṇai, the two karmas, that means good karmas and bad karmas, good actions and bad actions, jaṉmam, death and birth, miṇbutuṇ, happiness and misery, pleasure and pain, viruḻloļi, darkness and light. So the dream that consists of all these pairs of opposites, iṉṭṛu, will not exist. In other words, when we go within investigating ourselves, and when we reach the center of the heart throne, the very core of our being, and merge there and become one with our real nature, then this dream of consisting of all these pairs of opposites, such as inside and outside, good and bad actions, death and birth, happiness and misery, darkness and light, all these dualities will cease. The dream of dualities will cease. So what then remains? That he says in the final sentence, ideya maṉḍṛu aham macalamā naḍamiṭu Arunachala aruļloļi kadale. There's no verb here, but what the implied verb is, or the implication is, what will then exist? Is only, and then that's what he describes in this sentence. Aruļloļi kadale. Eleyarum means without limit. Aruļloļi, the light of grace. Kadale, ocean. Kadale, A is the final A is intensifier, so it implies the only that. So only the infinite ocean of light, or only the infinite ocean of the light of grace, Arunachala called Arunachala, that's called Arunachala, and then he describes it, Arunachala, beautifully. Ideya maṉḍṛu aham macalamā naḍamiṭu, which dances motionlessly in the cave of the heart. When he says that Arunachala dances motionlessly, that is a metaphorical way of saying Arunachala is always shining brightly. How is it shine brightly? As I am I, or I am only I. The ego is the false awareness, I am this body. The pure awareness is aware of itself as I am I. Because we cannot be anything other than ourselves. So the only true identification is not I am this or I am that, but I am only I. That is, so that's why Bhagavan often used the term aham aham or nan nan, I am I. He doesn't use it here, but that's what's implied when he says that Arunachala is dancing motionlessly in the court of the heart. That refers indirectly to the dancing of Nataraja in the court of Chidambaram. Nataraja, Bhagavan used to say, symbolizes the dancing of the aham spurana, the clarity of self-awareness that dances and destroys destroys ego and everything created by ego. In other words, destroys all of creation is destroyed by that dancing of Arunachala, as Arunachala dancing motionlessly in the heart as I am I. So in this verse, Bhagavan gives his teachings in a nutshell. The appearance of everything depends for its seeming existence upon the seeming existence of ourself as this body. That's what he calls the thought called I. So if that thought called I doesn't exist, nothing else will exist. So everything seems to exist only because we seem to be this ego, the false awareness, I am this body. So in order to free ourselves from this false appearance, what we need to do, whatever other thought may arise, we need to investigate to whom does it arise. Why does he say pira ninevu, if other thought arises? Because the thought called I cannot stand on its own. It stands only by clinging on to other thoughts. So if other thoughts arise, we need to investigate to whom. That is, we need to turn our attention away from the thought back towards ourself. To whom? To me. From where do I? Me there refers to ego. So from where do I rise? So from that is, what is the source from which I rise? We need to go inward. We need to go inwards, investigating ourselves. In other words, we need to turn our attention away from whatever appears, away from all phenomena, which are just thoughts, back towards ourselves, and thereby we need to sink within and merge into the heart, into our own real nature, the pure awareness that we actually are. And then he says, sinking thereby within, if we reach the heart throne, we'll be the emperor under the shade of a single umbrella. In other words, we'll become one with God, our own real nature. And when we become one with him by merging in the heart, then the dream of duality, that's all pairs of opposites, all dualities, all multiplicity will cease to exist. That is, when ego ceases to exist, all the phenomena known by it will also cease to exist. And what will then remain is just Arunachala, is just the infinite ocean of the light of grace, called Arunachala, will remain dancing motionlessly in our heart as I am I. Bhagavan in many verses in Arunachala Stuti Panchakam, but particularly here in Arunachala Aṣṭakam, Bhagavan is very, very clearly emphasizing that what is called Arunachala is nothing but the infinite ocean of grace that is always shining in our heart as I. In other words, it's our own light of awareness. As he said in the first sentence of the previous verse, uṇḍṛu porul, there is only one substance, arivoļi ulameni, you, the heart, the light of awareness. So what he refers to there as the light of awareness is what he refers to here as the infinite ocean of the light of grace. The light of grace means grace is nothing but the love that we, as we really are, that is, that our real nature has for us as we really are. So that it is Bhagavan's love for us which shines as grace, and his grace is always shining in our heart as I. So if we want to If we want to surrender ourselves to His grace, we just have to turn within and merge back into our heart, into the heart, merge back into a pure awareness that we actually are, into our fundamental awareness, I am. In order to do that, we need great love. As Bhagavan says in the final verse of Arunachala, of Atmavidya Kirtanam, Arulam Veṇamai, grace is also needed. Ambupurnamai, be adorned with or be possessed of or be bound with love. In other words, have love. What did? Arulam Veṇamai, Imbupurnamai, Imbutonamai. Then happiness will shine forth, then happiness will appear, happiness will blossom. So in order to turn within and to merge back into Bhagavan and to experience the infinite ocean of grace that is Himself, we need to turn within with great love.